Good morning. Welcome to Tailoring the Training. And this is just an open discussion that I wanted to have with some of the teachers here. We got a climate survey about 2 months ago. And on the climate survey, it revealed to us that professional development was one of our biggest needs on campus. And the teachers felt like that the professional development wasn't quite tailored to their needs. So, getting started, I want you to tell me what were some of the professional developments that you all participated in this year?
Well, as far as reading, I believe we had one training for reading and unpacking the teaks. Did we have a training on that?
Yes,
Unpacking the teaks. We had one
We had one on making them posters. Remember?
anchor
charts.
Anchor chart. The one that we had to act out. That kind of like a
Anchor
reflection.
chart. And I guess I should have started this way, and I'm going to go back a little bit. Since it's all of us, I don't want to hear us talking all at one time, so we'll use this as our little talking piece today, so we can just feel comfortable having an open discussion about professional development. Okay, so anytime you're ready to speak out, you could just grab the talking piece. Ms. Beck, you shared with us unpacking the teas. You shared anchor charts. Ms. Boone, do you remember any professional
I don't know if it was like a
development?
reflection, the one where you say we had to act out a specific, like our model piece or
Okay.
whatever standard that we had to
Okay.
teach.
All right.
And I don't know if this was a PD per se, but I know we will get together for the lesson plans, the calendar, preparing the calendar for the lesson plans.
Now, as we think back on some of the professional developments we had this year, what do you see some of our instructional needs we have on this campus? What are some of the instructional needs?
I would say when it comes to professional development that it should be needs-based, based on the needs of the teacher, not having every teacher to attend every professional development, have that teacher decide, what they need help or assistance with, either based on what they desire or based on what has been said in their classroom. But it should be needs-based.
Let me bring that back. Something outside of professional, not thinking about professional development. What are just some of the needs we have on this campus? Like as far as student behavior, instructional needs.
Right.
What are some of the needs you see? And I will introduce myself later, but in some of the areas, you all teach different content areas. What are some of the needs you see?
Well, behavior is a big problem. Kids coming to 4th grade, they're not reading on 4th grade level. Some not even on 3rd grade level.
I would say one of the needs is also classroom management for new teachers coming in, as well as new teachers coming into an ACE program in this area. I think it's a difference from going to a regular school and coming to an ACE school, especially when you work with low income in a low income area. It's just a different need and a different way a different approach that you have to. Serve the kids. It's a different way you have to approach the kids.
I'll add on to what Ms. Mitchell said. Definitely, as a first year, just having more, things to help those first years get accustomed to not even just ACE, but just teaching in general. Different things that'll help them progress in the classroom.
And just going into the classroom itself, maybe having someone actually come in. They can be within ACE, they could be outside the district, but to come in and help and model different lessons for the teachers.
Okay. All right. So thinking and reflecting on this year, this is the end of the year. What are some of the needs you personally had, like that you felt like could have been addressed, or maybe it wasn't? What are some personal instructional needs that you felt like was a weakness for you, and you still feel like that you have room for growth?
Getting help, assistance in the classroom with different, I guess maybe with instruction, maybe on how to do certain things, the way that the leaders want to see it.
For example.
For example, the I do, we do, you do. You know, we will always give feedback as of it's not right or it's not exactly how you all want to see it, but at the same time, it would be better if maybe somebody can come in and show us exactly how. And another thing with rigor, it's not enough rigor, but then at the same time, no one can really tell us exactly what rigor looks like. That makes sense.
Piggybacking on my cohort, I'm sorry. I totally agree with the rigor one because rigor is different in each classroom and with each child. So it's really no real way to really pinpoint what rigor is. Also, as a teacher coming into STAR, who is not familiar with the STAR whole thing that goes with with STAR, the skill, I just think that it should be more support for someone who's coming into STAR who has never taught in a STAR tested grade before. I really think it should be a lot more support, and also, like you said, with the I do, you do, and we do, actually showing how to teach a lesson, showing what that rigor looks like, showing them, how to break stuff down as far as the teaks, the skill, how, the order of how things should be taught, and some of those were addressed. Some of those, I did receive a lot of help in those areas, but at the same time, I think it needs to be consistent. It can't start and then stop. And I know that we had different issues going on this year, so it was a lot of things that we weren't able to receive because, the lack of teachers in certain classrooms, and I know some of the coaches had to, fill in there, so.
I agree with what they both said. I think just to add on to it, starting it from the beginning of the year and not, 2 months before it's time for us to leave or, only right at testing time, because it makes more sense to start from the beginning. That way we're consistent throughout the year, and you've already kind of showed us what you want right to look like. Now we know we can keep going.
And I would say too, just to agree with everyone, as we're learning, if we're in a STAR grade, for those of us that, had to teach it, knowing exactly what those kids need, and as we're meeting the needs of those kids that are on the 3rd grade level, preparing them for the STAR, what can we do and how can we do it in order to make sure these other kids don't get left behind? So if we have non-readers coming in and they still have to be prepared for the STAR as well, show us how to strategically and effectively teach these on grade level and beyond grade level kids along with those that are struggling. I feel like that was tough. Addressing all of the needs of the kids and making sure we did it effectively.
It was a big gap.
So
It was a huge gap.
Different strategies.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back to what you all said was some of the professional developments you participated in this year. Now I want you to think about the impact. What kind of impact do you think it had on the campus? I want you to think about that one professional development that you did participate in. I want you to tell me your strength about that professional development and a weakness. I'll give you a minute to just think on that for a minute. Just pinpoint a professional development you participated in, or one that we had on campus. You all told me about unpacking the teaks, anchor charts that you could remember, the modeling discourse. Tell me the strength of that PD and a weakness. And start with that.
I guess the modeling discourse, the strength would be, it was helpful because I guess after we acted it out, we were able to get feedback from different ones that would help better us in the classroom. And a weakness would be, to me, it was almost like an intro and not a follow-up. I would like to see a follow-up.
Mine would maybe similar to Bex. the strength was getting up before your peers and actually modeling, because you're so used to teaching in front of children and just going through the lesson in front of children, but then actually to have your peers in the room and watching what you do, to me that was a strength, and it'll help you to feel more comfortable. So if there is a time you need to go in and watch someone model, they'll go through a lesson with their kids, or someone come in and watch you, you won't be hesitant. And as far as a weakness, I would say the follow-up too, because everyone's style is different. So just letting us know, what we can continue to do and what we should avoid in our classroom.
So you chose the same thing?
Yes.
I'll do the anchor charts. A strength, I think it was helpful to those who, maybe not had the chance or weren't sure how to maybe make anchor charts, or really just need to get some done. But as far as the weakness, some of us don't need help in making anchor charts. Some of us have anchor charts all over our rooms and more than enough. So we didn't really need to, I guess, make anchor charts, really. There were some people in there that really needed to make them, that needed to, oh, how'd you do that? Oh, I like that one, and you could feed off someone else. But if you didn't need to build an anchor chart, it was just a time.
I guess I would have to go with Horton as well, with the anchor charts. Basically exactly what she said is, it was useful for some and not useful for others, because some of us have an abundance of anchor charts, and so it was just meaning less of us just sitting there, because we already had it done. But for those who were, she said that were lacking, it was more beneficial for them. And maybe if they would have utilized those who do have a lot to aid those who do not, maybe it could have been more useful that way, that we could have helped them into creating some. But for all of us to have to make one when it's, when all of us didn't need it, that was kind of meaningless.
Okay, so, let's go back to our instructional targets for this year. What was our goals this year? What were some of the goals that you had for, on your grade level to meet the needs of our kids? Like when they came in, what were some of your reading goals? What were some of your math goals? Reading and math teachers. What were some of the goals you had set for your kids for the year?
To grow, to ensure that each child grew from where they were when they came to, whether it been word knowledge, fluency, vocabulary, and things like that. So one of the goals was to just make sure that each kid grew.
And trying to close in some of those gaps. We had some large gaps with our, within our third grade team. So just trying to close in some of those gaps as possible as we could. It was, because it could get frustrating when you have kids coming into a third grade class who are still on kinder and first grade level, and I have to give them a third grade passage. So just trying to, make sure we utilize our small groups to try to close in as most of those gaps as we could.
I think our goal is pretty much the same across the board. Growth, just to see individual growth, not necessarily, oh, we all got to reach a certain point, but, some of them grew from, maybe 16% to 40%. That's huge, for an individual. So growth and really just identifying their need. So, we could give them the help or assistance that they needed.
I agree with reading growth. Because, like I said, I believe we grew 7 points, and for turnaround campus, any amount of points is good. So, growth.
All right, and thinking about that and trying to align that to the professional development that took place this year, do you think that professional development was affected? If so, why? If not, give your reason why.
No.
Why?
Well, I believe some of it was. I think we had a lot of unnecessary PDs or trainings.
For example, I know the anchor chart. Y'all mentioned that.
I'm trying to think of something that we had. like, okay, because to me, it seemed like they were more like intro, like the balance, let's say the balance literacy.
Okay.
It was more like the intro. We all have heard about it. I've seen the PowerPoints, but actually coming to my room and showing me. So it's almost like an intro PD where y'all showing slides.
So, as Ms. Beck, since you mentioned the intro, as you all are talking and telling me the reasons why the professional developments are ineffective, what I'm doing is coming up with a list that makes, because I'm thinking in my head, what makes a professional development ineffective. So you just told me just giving the intro and no follow-up. Okay, so
Intro with no follow-up and no time for implementation. We're giving it, it's presented to us, but then when it's time for us to go into implement that professional development, we're in another professional development. So they're happening back to back. So there it leaves no opportunity and no time for us to implement them effectively. So it's a waste of time.
I just thought of another one we had, professional development. It was about like these PowerPoints, and it was great. I thought it was a great tool, but then it was like, it just completely got pushed to the side. We were doing something else. And even with math, we had a good one. I think it was just our content, but we had went to a training, we brought that information back, so we were able to give that information to the rest of the math teachers on the campus. But again, it was an intro, no follow-up, no one, not to say we were implementing it in the classroom or not. It was just kind of like, here, we did this, and then it was just left alone. So again, that follow-up.
okay. Anything else? What made it ineffective?
I want to add something.
Because before you go ahead, Ms. Beck, before you finish your thought.
Okay, and also the turnaround, to me, when it's given to us, it's like, okay, do it. And it's almost like we don't have time to, of course, it's like maybe an hour PD. I think we need more time to try to, it's like an brain overload. Trying to fit everything into an hour. And then, okay, go to your room and let me see it. We want to see it by tomorrow or by Friday. That's just, it's too much.
Not reasonable. Okay, so what do you think the purpose of professional development is as a teacher?
I would think that the purpose of professional development is to strengthen the teacher, is to build the teacher in whatever area that they may be lacking or having difficulty, is to strengthen and to build the teacher. That's what I would think. And if you could strengthen and build the teacher in whatever content that they're teaching, it'll be more effective for the kids.
Okay. Anybody else want to add on to that?
I think it would be to just to add on to that, just to add or give them some additional tools. Sometimes I'm a new teacher, so for me it was seeing something that I never used before, didn't know how to use or do before. So now it was kind of that additional tool or resource, or strategy.
And also, I think it's, like they said, to assist, to aid, to encourage, to support. That's what I see in professional development. So, if I'm doing something right, then I can see it through that. Oh, okay, I did do that strategy right, or I am doing that technique right. Okay, so let me continue with that and just build on that. Or to support, in supporting my teaching, so I'll know that I'm at least have a feeling of accomplishment. That I'm growing. And then at the same rate to help me do better. Okay, I could have done this. Okay, I never asked my kids that question. I never followed up with another question. Oh, okay, so that's how they stretch it, so it's actually teaching me too, so I can be a better teacher, like she said, to grow and to build me so I can, do better. And if I can do better, then I will be better for the kids and they'll do better.
What I hear you all saying when you're building teacher knowledge, content knowledge, to gain a new strategy, to encourage and support and build on the tools that you already have. And the goal is to what?
With the kids.
Build the kids. Okay. So in order for us to know that professional development is working, we should be able to see it in student progress. So what I want you to think about, your best professional development or your ideal professional development. Think about your best professional development that you participated in, maybe not this year, but what made it so great? What did the presenter do? What happened amongst the group? What were you able to take back? What impact did it have on student learning and in their classroom? Should have think of that. I'll give you 10 seconds.
At the school or either, you know?
Because what we're trying to do is grow from there. What you all say that your ideal professional development, we want to bring that here because we want every professional development to be meaningful, geared towards student learning, and be beneficial to you because we don't want to keep having them and this is the results. It's not effective. So, go ahead.
Well, not this year, but one year we had one where it was half a day. And we were, I think it was on the school day, but they had it to where each grade was, had coverage. And what made the PD so interesting, because they had a lot of hands-on things that you can take back to your classroom. We were able to gather and do everything there in the PD. So it wasn't just watching a PowerPoint, it was actually things that we could take away and create there and take back into the classroom.
I would say, okay, does it have to actually be a professional? It was like a professional development.
Anything. I could do a professional
Okay,
development one-on-one.
Okay, so that's what I want, yes, so that's what I want to say, thank you. Okay, so awesome, my best professional, it actually was this year. And so it was actually when one of my lovely coaches, Ms. Mitchell, she had came in with the reading teachers. And we actually sat down and we made, say for instance, we went from day to day. And we just focused on Monday, okay? So we focused on Monday, we pulled all our resources that we needed. And after we pulled our resources, we actually talked step by step about what we were gonna do on Monday. This is what's gonna happen as soon as you kids walk in. Bam, this is what you're gonna say, this is what you're gonna give them. And not only that, but she also went and modeled exactly what we're gonna say, how it's gonna look, what we're gonna do, put that up. This is the anchor chart that I need to have, that you need to have up. Make sure you refer back to this. And she taught that lesson, and I promise you, that next day I was like, honey, I got this. I'm gonna do this, And I felt good about that. I felt good about that week because I knew I came in, I was ready, and I had teammates passing all the way back. Y'all teaching today. Y'all teaching, because we were loud, we were confident, because I knew what I was doing. I knew how the flow of my class was going to go. I knew what I wanted them to do from each time, and myself with time stamp. I may have fell off a couple of minutes, but I still was on it. You know what I'm saying? So I felt good about that lesson, about what I was doing, and about that work, and I knew my kids were learning. Okay.
Yes, I would like to add on to what Ms. Mitchell said, because and it seemed like to me our best PDs have been our one-on-one PDs with our coach, and that is because we're not just sitting there going through a PowerPoint, and she's actually walking us through everything and showing us what to do. And what I learned was that once she showed it to us that first time, we could implement it over and over and over and over again, so it was like once she showed us, this is what you do, this is how you do, and so then she could leave us alone. We can kind of fly just a little bit on our own, but it wasn't just sitting in PowerPoints and lecture. She actually took us through step by step, and to be honest with you, everything that she's taught me, I'm going to take it and use it when I go to my next grade level. So I want to add one more piece.
Yes, okay.
Something as simple as notebooking. She taught, when you're teaching, have those kids with their notebook and their pencil out taking notes. And what I saw was that the kids actually referred back. They flipped back with their notes.
Right.
So we did it as third grade, but I also be able to do it as first grade teacher.
Right.
So thank you, Coach Mitchell.
Thank you.
I didn't have the pleasure sitting there with Coach Mitchell. But I was going to the Momentous Professional Development, and I really liked it because it was every month. We were given kind of like a homework, try this with your kids, and then we would come back and report back, what did you do, how did it work, did it not work, and then it was, they were giving us a lot of tools to practice with our kids, and then they would show us in the class. So they were doing a lot of modeling, giving us that to check with your students and see how that went, and then come back and let us know how it went. And it helps a lot. Like, I can see it in my kids, you know, oh, Miss Horn, you did that with us, and you know, and it was really good training. So I guess that full circle coming back and it really, you know, affecting the kids as well as the growth of me, the teacher.
All right. So when we talk about our ideal PD, I hear you saying more time. It was a half day. You said they gave you hands-on. You wasn't just sitting watching a PowerPoint. You were involved with the learning that was taking place. I heard Ms. Mitchell say that a good PD is resourceful. You're able to take resources that
Yes.
actually use in a classroom, and they are showing versus telling.
Yes.
And the same thing with Ms. Boone. Then I heard Ms. Horton say that it's happening every month. So you're getting that follow-up. And they're giving you new strategies to
Right.
follow up with what y'all went over the previous month that you could take
Yes.
back to class
Yes.
and use in class and quickly figure out if it works or if it's not working, the implementation. So, with that in mind, and we talked about the needs of our campus, we said the gaps were so wide, the things that we needed to happen here. With that in mind, I want you all to take a minute and bring pencil and paper with us, okay? I want you to take a minute and think about the needs of our campus. We said the gaps. You reading teachers, you were saying the gaps were so wide. The kids struggle in reading. Think about the goals that you have for your kids, the fluency, building fluency. Ms. Hort, you said the same thing with about the math. The gaps were so wide. I want you to think about the needs of our campus, the classroom management. Think about some of the professional development suggestions that you would have based on the needs of our campus, the targeted needs. What would be some of the suggestions you have for professional development? And then thinking about the needs, what need is that professional development target?
Well, I feel that we have a lot of teachers in here who've been teaching a long time. I feel that we as teachers can get together, those like veteran teachers can get together and maybe host a PD. Especially those teachers that's been teaching maybe like 20, 15, even 10 plus years, I don't know. But, are those DT or proficient teachers maybe coming together, because I believe a lot of teachers here on campus have a lot of good things that work in their classrooms that, you know, can come together and get a great PD, and where other teachers
Can you give me an example of a PD that maybe a teacher, maybe something that you personally are good at, that you feel like will be beneficial to the campus and target a need on our campus?
maybe effective ways of doing stations, maybe. Why the teachers, let's say, doing the pulling groups and having kids work in stations. I know sometimes that's kind of hard for teachers. I think that would be something. That would be.
And what need would that target? Should you give me a target need to?
Target the reading skills. It would help build other areas, small group instruction where it would, I think it would help with even behavior, because a lot of teachers can't do it to effectiveness because of behavior. So I think it would target the reading, vocabulary.
Okay. I hear you saying teacher-led professional development with, and an example professional development, maybe the teachers that are great with small groups and stations.
Right.
Can deliver the PD, and that would target it, addressing some of the gaps in reading, differentiating instruction. Okay. I'm gonna take the topic.
I think content PDs, you know, we had some good ones where, you know, our math group got together and we were able to, you know, have discussions, but I only remember doing that maybe once or twice. And it would have been beneficial to even see, you know, those experienced teachers helping, you know, the first year teacher, or even some that don't have as much experience in the content, whether it be, you know, knowing what they're doing a level up and a level down. And so you kind of, right, so you can get that experience there, and, you know, just so you're on that same page, and what do you need to know before you go to the next grade, or what do you know coming in, that would have been beneficial.
what I hear you saying is more content professional development. So do you all agree that every professional development should be content specific? Like sitting and reading? How do y'all feel about that?
Not necessarily, because I mean, if we're doing content things to build the students, yes. But if it's behavior, I might be able to pull something from Miss Mitchell or Miss Beck, and they're reading teachers
Okay.
different than a math teacher.
So just more content.
Yes.
And I heard you saying vertical, like you would like to do with the grade level before versus just third grade, just fourth
Yes.
grade. More vertical planning.
Okay, I want to add on to what Ms. Beck said as far as the small group, because we noticed that that's where we can really strive and meet the needs of our kids on the different levels. So I think we should have a PD with preparing and organizing the different resources and materials that would be needed in those small group sessions. We'll have our stations, but we need to already have our materials put together, knowing what to gather, knowing how to use it for when we're in those small group sessions with those kids.
You the last one left?
I'm just in agreement. I was gonna say what she said, actually. I'm touching it. I was gonna say what she said, other than just talking about what we need, let's have that time to actually pull what we need, because we stated earlier that we don't have, that turnaround time is not good. We don't have that time to actually implement. It's a lot of just here, let's do, but we don't have that time to actually implement and have that moment to pull and use what we, because it's some good stuff, but we can't actually utilize it because, again, it's overwhelming now because it's too much going on at one time. So let's just actually get that time to pull and our resources that we need so we can be effective on the next day when it's time for us to, and let the time frame be reasonable as well.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is less and you all can do more.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Less, y'all can do more. You say you're having trouble with the follow-up.
And follow through. We don't follow up or follow
because
through.
the timelines that are given are unreasonable.
Okay, and then, I'm sorry, and also, we need to decide based on each grade level, because not all grade levels are struggling with the same exact
Right.
thing and the same exact content. So we need to look at each grade level and see where is kinder struggling the most, where is first grade struggling the most. After we determine where each grade level is struggling, what does kinder need? What PD do we need to give them so they can implement it from August up until whatever? So once we're starting to see growth and improvement, let's move them up to the next thing. First grade, what do they need? What are they struggling with? We want to give them that PD. So it needs to be based on not just the needs of the teacher, the needs of the kids, the needs of the grade level. What is that end goal in mind, and what do we need to do to get to the end?
So I hear you saying we need to look at grade level specific.
Yes.
Okay. So what would be some suggestions on how we would go about doing that as the leadership, part of the leadership team? Because what I'm going to do, I'm taking my notes here, and I plan to present this to the administration team, some of the suggestions that you all have. So using it, how would we organize that? Like, what are some of the ways we can organize? I want y'all to think about that. I'll give you a minute to, what could we do to organize that, to make sure that it's specific to everybody's needs and where people feel comfortable? Because sometimes, if I have to go into classroom management, PD, and someone's telling me to go there and no one else has to go there, as a teacher coming in, it may make me feel uncomfortable, like I'm not doing something right, or I can't control my class. What is a way, what are some of your suggestions as teachers that we can present this to teachers where they'll feel comfortable and they're like, hey, I need some more professional development, classroom management. I cannot control it. This is a group that I have trouble with. So we want that to be a comfortable for every teacher, even a new teacher that's coming in, so no one feels bad or attacked or feel like that,
I guess I'm about to answer. I guess I'm answering what you're asking. I feel maybe, like over the summer, as for the leadership team, you all looking at that data, right? Looking at it, seeing how each grade level did, pulling those, gaps, you know, you'll see on there what each grade level is struggling in. And to me, having those PDs early on,
Yes.
maybe even like before school started, we have those PDs early on before, until like October, November, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, looking at the data, now I'm coming from a leadership perspective. Sometimes you look at the data and you know that it is a need for that teacher. But I want to know, how can we make teachers feel comfortable with knowing that it is a need for them? You know, so that they'll feel comfortable signing up for it. Because I know it had been so, you know, I was in a classroom last year, and I know if somebody came and told me, hey, you can't go to this station training with everybody else. You need to go to classroom management. I'm gonna be like, I kind of feel some kind of way about that. So how can we get every teacher to feel comfortable with signing up for what they need? Go ahead, Ms. Beck.
The team's delivery, the administration team's delivery. The way you, when I say you, I'm talking about not
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
But you know, the way you come to a teacher telling them, not making them feel as if they can't, you know, you can't do it. But the delivery.
As a first year teacher, the teacher knows when they need help. I knew I had classroom management issues last year, not so much